Hello, how to use synthetic division for dividing polynomials. So synthetic division is just sort of what we refer to as a shortcut method. I'm not sure how the person figured this out that developed it, but it's just another method or another tool for solving or for dividing, and I want to show you all the methods. So when we use synthetic division, we first identify the coefficients of your polynomial. So I have a 1, a 2, a 5, and a 12. So those are all of my coefficients right here. And I'm just going to put them in their own little sort of box like this. Then we're going to look at the divisor, and we're going to ask what makes this 0, or what makes our 0. So that would be -3. So this is the 0. And what we do then is we start here with our first coefficient, and we are going to add, and we always just add 0 to it. So if we add 0, we're just left with 1. And the reason we draw the second line is so that we know anything below the second line, we are going to multiply by the 0. So 1 times -3 is -3. Now it's above the line, so we add it. So 2 plus -3 is -1. It's below the line, so we multiply it times the 0. Now they're above the line, so we add them. It's below the line, so we multiply. And it's above the line, so we add. So this pattern that we're doing is considered the pattern of synthetic division. So how do we get our answer? How do we get our quotient? Well, since this was 1x cubed, our answer has to be 1 exponent less. So this would be 1x squared, and then it just decreases. It goes right down in descending order. So this would be 1x. This would just be plus 8. And this last value every single time is going to be your remainder. So this is a remainder of -12. So the answer to, if I would take this polynomial and divide it by this divisor, I would get this quotient, this answer, 1x squared minus 1x plus 8. Now I want to show you that this is true by also showing the problem using long division. So I'm just going to rewrite the problem using, or like we did in our last video or our last class, and then I'm going to solve. So x times what gives me x cubed, x squared. So x squared, distribute, so plus 3x squared. Oops, this is cubed. Subtract, so -1x squared plus 5x. X times what gives me negative, so that would be -x squared minus 3x, because I distributed. Subtract that. Those are gone, but minus plus 8. Drop down the 12. So if I do that, x times what gives me 8x, so plus 8. Oops, that's an 8. So then I get 8x minus, and then I have to do this times that, so it would be 24. And 12 minus 24 is -12. So I see I get the same answer, x squared minus x plus 8. Again, this is our remainder -12, just like what we saw when we used synthetic. So synthetic is a much shorter, or a shortcut method for dividing polynomials. So I'm going to go through the synthetic division process again for the next two problems, the ones that we were trying, the same process that we just did. So again, what do is I write down my coefficients. So I write down my coefficients of 1, 7, 15, and 9. My 0 for this is -1. And I'm going to add. So I first start off with adding 1 plus 0. And now it's below the line, so I multiply it times my 0. So it's -1. I now add. So that's 6 below the line, so I multiply. Now I add. Now I multiply. And now what this turns out to be, again, started with x cubed. So this is 1x squared, it's one less, plus 6x plus 9, and now my remainder is 0. So what that tells me is this is a factor of the polynomial, where this, because we had a remainder of negative 12, is not a factor. Okay, so that's just another example of using synthetic division. I'm going to do one more. Okay, my last example, synthetic division. I'm going to write down all my coefficients. So 1, negative 5, you have to make sure you keep the negative with it, negative 7, 25. Then I write my 0. My 0 in this case is a positive 5. I'm going to add. So 1 plus 0 is 1. Now it's below the line, so I multiply this 1 times 5. Now it's above the line, I add. Below the line, I multiply. Above the line, I add. Below the line, I multiply. And now I add. So again, this started with an x cubed. So this would be 1x squared plus 0x minus 2, remainder negative 15. Now, if you end up with a 0, you probably would write this as x squared minus 2, remainder negative 15. Because 0 times anything just is 0. So this one, because it has a remainder, this is not a factor. So you now know two methods. You know how to do long division, and I just mentioned synthetic. You should be able to try all the homework questions on 6-3, and if you have any questions, please email or bring them to class. Thanks.